Okay, I know you're going to say that this video must not actually exist because how could AJ possibly be talking about something topical for once? But today I'm giving you my 2 cents on something extremely special. Something that was only recently found because fans were dedicated enough to find it. And I'm not going to go into the specific details of all the backstory behind this thing, because there is an absolutely fantastic documentary in 2 parts right here on YouTube that I'm going to link to in the description of this video that does it way better than I ever could. But today we're talking about what is colloquially known as Saban Moon, the first attempt at an American adaptation of Sailor Moon, which, despite not actually being produced by Saban, is called Saban Moon because it hoped to ape the Saban style in adapting things like Power Rangers. And anyone who knows anything about Power Rangers is saying, but wait, how would that have worked? Power Rangers is a live-action series that uses live-action footage from Super Sentai to cut away to for the action sequences to save money in the budget. And Sailor Moon was an anime. How do you do that? Do you animate new scenes for the American-only stuff? Because that seems like it would also be expensive. But no. I mean, they did, yes, technically. That is what they did, technically speaking. But Saban Moon is a much more interesting animal than that. Saban Moon would have been, if it had been picked up, a hybrid animated and live-action series where sequences similar to the American-only segments of the original Power Rangers would have been filmed with American actresses who were the Earth forms of the Sailor Scouts, or the Princess Warriors, I think is what this pilot called them, who are hiding in another dimension, i.e. the real world, from the evil Beryl and her Dark Army. Their solar system spanning empire was attacked by Beryl, and now these 5 possess the only 5 power stones left that can oppose her, and which she would become significantly more powerful if she herself possessed. And it's only when they transform and go to fight that they become animated, and all of the animation would have been redone here in America in that Filmation-esque style, like the Star Trek the Animated series stuff that we talked about just recently on the channel. But also this felt like it was more specifically trying to ape something like He-Man, right? And so that would have been produced here cheaply, but it would have used iconography and mythos from the original Sailor Moon to save time on production of things like iconography and mythos. And all of this is because the original Sailor Moon was considered too Japanese to properly adapt, which just did not end up being true. Like, yes, the initial dub of the show changed a lot of stuff, mostly the characters' names and relationships, to remove not only references to Japan, but to queer people existing also, which it's very stupid. If you don't know, read about some of the stuff that was changed between the localization of Sailor Moon and the original. You'll be blown away. But the importance of Sailor Moon in the West cannot be overstated. It's one of those shows like Dragon Ball that initially paved the way for anime outside of Japan. Like, straight up, if it weren't for the Sailor Moon anime adaptation, the dub of the Sailor Moon anime adaptation, we might not have stuff like the stuff that I'm literally wearing iconography for in this video here in America. So clearly there was something there, and this animated pilot makes it clear that they would have at least attempted to adapt some of the storylines from the original Sailor Moon, like Tuxedo Mask, or whatever he would have been called in this version, is there. They tease him in this pilot. So they were clearly trying to adapt the story to some extent. Like, Beryl's the villain, too, right? It's clearly there, in some form or another. So it's baffling to me that they assumed the anime would be more difficult to adapt into a Western show than it would be to make something like this. Like, that mere idea has baffled me for years, since I first heard that this thing apparently existed in some form as just like a curiosity. And then like 2 days ago, it pops up that it's been found. And holy crap, I can watch it now. And it's just as baffling. But I kind of really loved it too. Like, I don't know if you guys know this. I haven't really advertised it anywhere. But I'm a big Power Rangers fan. I absolutely love the campiness, the cheesiness of Power Rangers. Not just the old show, but modern versions of it too. In fact, the current show, Dino Fury, which is returning in September, it's a Netflix show right now, is, I think, a genuinely good television show. Like, above and beyond being a good Power Rangers show. I think it's just good television in general. So clearly, I was going to get something out of anything attempting to ape that style. And yeah, this is very clearly geared towards young girls. Like Sailor Moon's geared towards women in general anyway. Like girls in general anyway. More than like a shonen thing. But the central bridge of this pilot makes it very clear that this is geared towards like middle school girls, right? But I've never had a problem with that kind of thing. I've actually always kind of liked like girl drama stuff. And the animation, while, let's say, budget to be nice, the animated segments were also actually pretty fun. Like, I like this style of old animation. It's obviously not up to modern standards or anything, but I think I really would have eaten this up if I had watched it as a kid. And, like, yeah, it's definitely weird. I don't have a ton of experience with Sailor Moon. I like it. I haven't really watched much of it. I haven't read the manga at all either. I have a friend on Tumblr who's probably very disappointed to hear that. But I like Sailor Moon. I think it's pretty good. It was so weird seeing its iconography here in this show. But, like, I feel the same way going and trying to watch one of the Super Sentais that was adapted into Power Rangers. So, like, that's just an artifact of the style, right? And you can even see, like, some of the aspects that the dub tried to bring into the Sailor Moon anime already popping up here. Like turning Sailor Moon into more of a typical ditzy girly. Like, she's kind of like that in the original, from what I understand. But, like the terminology and the radical lingo and the specific focus of the dialogue on more typical young girl things, it's here too. Like, there's superheroes who occasionally have to go out into the greater solar system in animated form to stop bad guys, but the rest of the time they're worried about things like fashion and the dance and finding boyfriends. But the very end of this pilot does suggest that their intention was to focus at least somewhat on how, at the very least, what was her name in this? Victoria, I think, Sailor Moon, on how specifically she would have gotten on balancing those aspects of her life and trying to live a happy, normal life while dealing with all this other stuff. I don't know how successful it would have been at that or how in-depth it would have gone, but that would have been super interesting, I think. Like, I don't think this show would have been great, but if it had actually been made, people definitely would have watched it. And it would definitely have a following today. And I'd watch more of it if there was more of it to watch. Straight up. And that's on the merit of it being, like, campy fun. And that's not even to mention stuff like, I don't know if you guys noticed it from the footage I've been showing, but one of these girls is in a wheelchair. She's a superhero in a wheelchair who doesn't miraculously stop being disabled when she transforms into her superhero form, which is the kind of thing that studios cringe away from doing now. So in a way, this show would have been ahead of its time. I'm not going to go into super detail about plot or whatever, because there isn't really a plot to this. It's a pitch pilot. It is online. I'll try to find the link I used again, and if I find it, I'll link it in the description with that documentary. But I don't know. I thought this was really fun. As someone with my particular niche interests who also just likes the core basic foundation of Sailor Moon in general, I thought this was a lot of fun. And I think you probably will too. Maybe for different reasons than me. Maybe you'll just have fun clowning on it. But I would definitely seek this out and watch it. It's certainly worth it. If nothing else than simply because it's such an anomaly. Like, this is such an anomaly of an adaptation. It's just, the history of it is so wild. And I only know like a fraction of it. I can't imagine how wild I'm going to think it is once I know more. Because I haven't watched that whole documentary yet. And the craziest thing, wasn't Sailor Moon's transformation from codename Sailor V to Sailor Moon with a team of heroes instead of just one influenced by Super Sentai already? So not only was Sailor Moon influenced by Super Sentai, but then this show and its would-be creation was influenced by the adaptations of Super Sentai. How wild is that? It's so cool. It's like playing that Kevin Bacon game, but with Power Rangers. But yeah, the documentary rounds out to be like 2.5 hours total. It's split into 2 parts, like I mentioned. I definitely recommend seeking that out and watching it, and seeking out this pilot and watching it. It's about 10 minutes long. I don't think you'll regret it at all. But end of the day, that's been my 2 cents on Saban Moon. The most interesting piece of found media I've encountered in a very long time. But guys, what do you think of Saban Moon if you have also experienced it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video, share it with anyone else you think would enjoy my content, subscribe if you haven't. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.